Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another recent reads on Sunday video in which I discuss books that I've read recently. And I have quite a backlog with the recent reads, so the books I will discuss today are mostly books that I finished in the second half of November or right at the beginning of December. And the first book I want to mention only briefly because I made a whole video about it, and that's Selma Lagerlöf's The Saga of Gösta Berling in the English translation. This is the first read of a read-along that I organized, in case you don't know, in which we read a book by a female winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature each month. And we start with the first winner in 1909, and that was Selma Lagerlöf. If you're interested in joining, I will leave links to the Goodreads group down below with the reading schedule and also a link to the video in which I discuss this book. So only very briefly, this book was published at the end of the 19th century. It was Selma Lagerlöf's debut novel, which I found amazing. And it tells the tale of a disgraced minister, Gösta Berling, who drank too much and then he got fired and he wandered the streets and then he got rescued by a rich lady. And he lives on her estate together with other gentlemen, 11 other gentlemen. And this is the saga, so it's the tale of the adventures that happened during the time that Gösta Berling spends on the estate. It's very fairy tale-ish and not structured like your normal novel, so you will have to see whether it's your cup of tea. But if you're interested, like I said, check out the video that I made discussing the book at length. And also, maybe if you haven't yet, join us in the read-along of Nobel Women. And the second book I want to talk to you about is this one, Joyce Carol Oates' Blackwater, first published in 1992 or 1993. Should have checked, but I will leave the correct date down below. Now, this was a buddy read together with Sean over at Sean the Book Maniac. I will leave a link to his wonderful channel down below. Please check it out if you haven't yet and subscribe. The books, it's quite a short, it's a novella more than a novel, and it takes as its premise the Chappaquiddick incident in 1969. You know, when Ted Kennedy and a young woman in the car. He drove the car off the bridge and he saved himself, but the woman died. But Joyce Carol Oates decided to transfer the events to the 1990s, 1992. She doesn't use the real names, but there is a senator referred to as the senator, and the young woman's name is Kelly Kelleher. The book opens right after the car has flown off the bridge and hit the water. So what Joyce Carol Oates does is we experience Kelly in the moments before she dies. And in those moments, she reflects back upon her life. We learn something about her youth, her father, a little bit about politics, how she met the senator, why she was attracted to him. Joyce Carol Oates focuses on the power relation between an older, powerful man and a young woman who admires this powerful man and who wants to be in the vicinity and have a relationship with him. So that is the central theme. But what makes this book such a harrowing read is that, like I said, it's opening with Kelly dying. And then we go back a little bit, we learn about her past, and then we go back to the moment in the water. So it's really claustrophobic to imagine you are stuck in this car and the water is filling up and you know that you want to die, and as a reader you hope against all hope that she will be saved, but of course she isn't. So it's wonderfully written. Sean and I both really liked it. Sean a little less than I did, I think. But the idea of this experience of nearing death in this cold black water, when you know that it's all over. I thought it was a fantastic little novella, and if you haven't read it, I can highly recommend it. You might understand, after finishing Blackwater, I needed something lighter, much lighter. And I decided to pick up a book that had been on my radar for some time, and but I haven't picked it up, and that is Mariah Frederick's book, A Death of No Importance, published earlier this year. Mariah Fredericks is an American author, and she has published several books for teens and young adults, but this is her first mystery novel for adult readers. It's a historical fiction mystery, and if I can trust Goodreads, it's supposed to be the first in a series, the Jane Prescott Mysteries. Jane Prescott is the main character of the book. The book is set in 1910 in New York. Jane Prescott is a maid to the Benchley family, especially the two daughters of the Benchley family. And the Benchleys and another rich family, the Newsomes, are in the center of the plot. Charlotte Benchley, one of the two daughters, is engaged to the son of the other family, Norrie Newsome, a rich, a bit of a shady young man, more sort of a playboy-ish character, not very likable. And Norrie is murdered at the ball that the announcement of the engagement was supposed to happen, and then Jane Prescott decides to investigate. That's basically the plot. I liked the way Mariah Fredericks describes the setting. It's very atmospheric, about the quite humorous also, how Jane Prescott as a maid tells you about the quirks of the rich people. She talks with other servants, of course, in the other family, the Newsome family. So I liked that. I liked the setting, I liked the descriptions and the atmosphere. But I thought the mystery itself was a bit heavy-handed, especially how the clues are presented. There are one or two, plot holes in it, but still, it was an engaging read, and in a sense, for a debut novel, I'm not as harsh, and I consider picking up the second one and see whether Mariah Fredericks improves in telling the story, because I like the setting so much, and I like Jane Prescott as a character. This, no nonsense maid, very witty, very intelligent, and the relationships between servants and rich people in 1910 New York, that's all wonderful. Yeah, the clues, bit heavy-handed. The mystery, bit heavy-handed. But still, give it a try if this is your cup of tea, and we shall see whether Mariah Fredericks continues with the series, and maybe she gets a bit of a lighter hand on the mystery side of the plot. The next book, I think the fourth book now, I lost count a little bit, that I read in November, end of November, was also a buddy read with a group of people, and we read Barbara Kingsolver's most famous book, I would say, The Poisonwood Bible, published first in 1998. If you're following my channel, you might know that I hadn't read Kingsolver until earlier this year, or end of last year, when I read The Lacuna, book set in Mexico. I liked it okay, but it was not one of my favorites. But Barbara Kingsolver is such a beloved author that I thought I need to read more of her. And practically everybody suggested that I had to read the Poisonwood Bible. So that's what I did. The Poisonwood Bible is set mostly in the Congo in 1959, 1960, and we follow the family of an evangelical Baptist missionary, Nathan Price, who takes his family, his wife Oleana, and his daughters to the Congo to do missionary work. The family has 4 daughters. The youngest, Ruth May, she's only 5 when the family moves to the Congo. The oldest, Rachel, is 16, 17, and in the middle you have the twins, Leah and Ada. The book is structured in 7 books, following Bible books in a way, because it's about missionary work, and each book is introduced by reflections of the mother, Oleana, set way later than the events that took place in the Congo. And then the remainder of those 7 books are the voices of the daughters. And they are all very distinct. I love the way that Kingsolver gave each of the daughters an own voice. Rachel, the oldest, who is, this very kind of selfish is maybe not the right word, but self-centered woman who just seems to be interested in her looks and finding a good husband more than anything. You have Ada, one of the twins, who can't speak because she has a brain disorder, but has a very rich reflection, an inner monologue, very intelligent, and her twin Leah, who is the most interested in the religious aspect and in the Congo. And then you have the youngster, you see the world that this family experiences from the perspective of a very young girl. There's a lot of politics, of course, mixed into the book, but in a very, very subtle way. So it's no info dumping, not hitting you over the head as a reader, with the Congo politics and the way that colonialism works at the time. It's just at the moment that Congo gains in independence, and Patrick Lumumba plays a role, of course, and his death plays a role. But the story is focusing on the life of the family. And Nathan Price, he doesn't have a voice of his own in the book. He is a very unlikable character, a very strong-headed, single-minded father, quite violent at times, not able to see anybody else's point of view. And then, of course, stuff happens and tragedy hits, and we learn, how the family deals with that. I really enjoyed the book. There's one book in the book, book 5, where we jump ahead in the future. I didn't enjoy that. I thought it really took me out of the very atmospheric voice storytelling of the daughters. But other than that, it was a fantastic read, and especially to read it with a group of people, some of which had read the book, so it was a reread for them, and our discussions were great. And it's certainly not the last Barbara Kingsolver I will read. And then the last book for today is also sort of a buddy read. You know that I'm participating in a Goodreads book club run by Mel over from Mel's Bookland Adventures, and it's a Read Around the World book club. I've mentioned that a million times. I will leave links down below, and we read a book by a female author from all over the world, and we read one each month. And in November we traveled to Hungary, and we read Magda Szabó's book Isa's Ballad. It was published in Hungary in 1963, but it was only translated into English by George Oates in 2014, after Magda Szabó died. She died in 2007. Now, Isa's Ballad is set in Hungary in the late 1950s, early 60s. we don't quite know. There's never mention of a year in the book. And there are two main characters. That's Isa and Etty. Isa is Etty's daughter. Etty is an elderly woman, and the book opens when Etty's husband dies. Etty lives in rural Hungary, in a house without electricity, or at least, no, that's not true, not without electricity, but she doesn't have, a television or stuff like that, and she doesn't like it. She lives a very down-to-earth rural life. But after Eddie's husband died, Isa, a woman in her mid-30s, I would say, a successful doctor in Budapest, in the capital, Isa decides that Eddie shouldn't live on her own, and she moves Eddie to Isa's flat, to a new flat in Budapest, to live together. So that's the setting of the book. Sorry. And then we follow these two characters. And it's a very melancholic book because Eddie isn't happy in Budapest. It's not what she wants. So it's a book full of misunderstandings and good intentions that don't work out well. The relationship between mother and daughter is explored in quite some depth. There are some side characters also. Isa's ex-husband, who also lived in the same rural village that Isa's mother lived. We don't quite know why they divorced. So it's a bit of a mystery, but the central theme is the relationship between Eddie and her daughter Isa. It's heartbreaking at times. It's a beautifully quiet little story about this relationship and how things just don't work out, even if people have good intentions. So if you've never read Magda Szabó's work, I can certainly recommend this one to start with. So this was it for my recent reads for today, at least. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to talking to you down in the comments, and I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye-bye.